Alright, what's up guys? It's WatchMeSC, and this is going to be my first video in a series I'm going to call League Guides, which are guides for League of Legends to help you become a better LoL player. So this video will focus on quintessences. I'm going to be reading from a script, and this script and all the information that I have that I speak about in this guide will be in the description. So, just make sure you check that and give me a thumbs up and comment if you disagree or agree with anything in this guide or you learned something. Please feel free. You're going to have to do a little bit of referencing because what you're going to see in the background is just a random game. All the math is going to be done in the description. So, yeah, just make sure you can follow along with that if you want, or just check it after you're done watching. So, this is going to be about why you should and shouldn't select certain quintessences, which ones provide the most value, and which ones I feel are the weakest. There will be some math done here and a fair amount of what seems like theory crafting, but I have done both research and testing with a lot of what is discussed here. I hope you can learn something today and pass this on to your friends if you found it helpful. Don't forget to thumbs me up and leave a comment letting me know if you agree or disagree, or if you feel I left anything out so I can include it in my next guide. For reference, all quints will be tier 3. I'm going to start out with the quintessence that I've been using a lot recently. I've found it exceptionally useful in my efforts. That is the Quint of Vigor, which provides HP per 5 regen. Let's go over some math and compare it to the Quintessence of Fortitude, which provides flat HP, and see which one fares better. The Greater Quintessence of Fortitude provides 26 HP for 1, or 78 HP for all 3. The Greater Quintessence of Vigor provides 2.7 HP per 5, or 8.1 per 5 for all 3. It takes about 48.148 seconds for the HP regen quints to provide more overall HP. This was calculated by seeing how many seconds it took for the HP per 5 quints to provide more overall HP to your champion than the flat HP. More details coming up next. So now let's take a look at a random champion's base and per level stats and compare those to what the quints provide as well. So Jarvan as an example. He's going to be the example I'm using throughout this guide. So his base stats I'm going to say first, and then his per level stats I'm going to say next. His base stat for HP is 510, and his per level gain is 90. His HP per 5 base stat is 7.7, and his per level stat is 0.7. So the HP quints provide about 15% or so of your starting HP, and less than 1 full level of HP gain. The HP per 5 quints provide about 105% of your starting HP per 5, and more than 11 levels of HP per 5 gain. There are, however, a few downsides to using HP 5 quints over flat HP. You are a little more susceptible to burst damage early game especially, where the flat HP provide a larger percentage of your total HP. Basically, as the game goes later, you gain more HP, and the quintessences of flat HP provide you of a less of a percentage. And you have to take damage for the HP 5 quints to begin to provide their benefit. And finally, which is somewhat debatable, every time you leave your base with full HP, the HP 5 quints need another 50 or so seconds to provide more overall HP than the flat HP quints. This goes back to the first two downsides. Basically, if you go out into a team fight and you die in less than 48 seconds after you start taking damage, you would have been better off with that in that specific circumstance with flat HP. All this being said, I find during the early laning phase and even later in the game, you tend to take damage in small exchanges of poke and tanking creep waves, jungle creeps, so as to make the HP 5 more effective. I also feel that the numbers speak for themselves. Every other type of sustain has been nerfed recently as of the Nautilus patch. Wriggles, Hextech, HP pots, most type of sustain has been nerfed, including Soraka and Sona in essence. HP 5 still hasn't been touched really besides Warmogs. Sustain is powerful, ask Riot. Now WatchMeSC, you say, what about per level runes? Well, per level runes follow the same rules for the most part. Well, this should actually, yeah. They provide better benefits starting generally at around level 9. However, in mid to low elos, most games are decided earlier rather than later, I have found. So, having a larger chance of swinging the game in your favor early is generally a strong thing to consider as an advantage to the flat runes rather than the per level, which is a little less tangible, as in you don't notice 3 damage per level, but you do notice 10 or 15 at the start. Also, some champs don't fully come into their own until level 9 or later even, and if that is the case there are two options to consider. You can try to play safe using the per level runes and make your peak at level 9 about as strong as it would have been with the flat runes, or you can try to use flat runes to strengthen your normally weak early game. I find that both options are generally viable. It depends on your playstyle more than anything how you choose to approach this choice. Now, let's take a look at some more intangible runes that are hard to decide their actual value, like the greater quintessence of swiftness, the move speed runes, the experience runes, the gold runes, and, the lifesteal and spell vamp runes. Let's start with the move speed runes. For swiftness, let's take a look at Jarvan again for consistency's sake. His base move speed is 315, his boots 1 move speed without swiftness is 365, and his boots 2 move speed is 385. Generally, those are the boots that you're going to be getting. It's some sort of boots to Merc Treads, Berserker's Greaves, cooldown boots, spell pen boots. So one of those are the ones you're generally going to get. So let's factor in the move speed quints. His original base move speed was 315. With the move speed quints, it's 329. His original boots 1 move speed is 365, and with the move speed quints, it's 381. And boots 2 move speed is 385 normally, and 402 with the move speed quints. The most noticeable increase there is the difference between boots 2 without move speed quints and boots 1 with move speed quints. It's only a 4 move speed difference. So basically, if you start with boots 1 and move speed quints, you're going to be as fast as they are with boots 2 if they don't have any. I can't really talk too much about how strong they are or how cost effective because it depends a lot on the champ you use and your playstyle again. I will say that every single champ in the game can benefit from moving faster though. I think the time when they shine most is late game when the majority of other runes fall off significantly. A little more on this later. Move speed quints combine extremely well with the champs that need to initiate or maintain kiting control over their opponents. Also, items that add move speed such as Force of Nature and Trinity Force Phantom Dancer stack well with move speed quints. Currently, move speed quints make the current common opening for some AP mids of boots plus pots even stronger. If you start with move speed quints and boots, your opponent doesn't start with boots, the advantage you have in mobility is incredible. Keep in mind move speed is one of the rare stats in the game as well. Most of the items that provide move speed are expensive or not really that viable for certain champions. So let's move on to the gold per 5 quints, or the gold per 10 quints. The gold quints are relatively easy to calculate. At 3 gold per 10 they provide 18 gold per minute. This is 180 gold per 10 minutes. So just add that up for every 10 minutes the average game goes and you will get their actual value in the game. Most of the time it's around 500 gold I have found. Basically it's the equivalent of 1 free last hit per minute, which I don't feel is too flashy. But, however, Colby from Colby Lol videos on YouTube, go check him out, he makes pretty sweet live commentaries. He wants me to make a note that these quints are especially effective and almost necessary on supports. I can see his logic, but I still feel like move speed quints would provide a generally better experience for a support. So that's my opinion. Anyway, moving on to the experience quints. XP quints provide a benefit until level 18 only. Well, that's kind of what it seems like. Being at a higher level than your opponent can not only be a psychological advantage, but also an obvious advantage of having your skills leveled up more. I, however, do not use them because they literally provide you nothing late game whatsoever once everyone reaches level 18. So that's my opinion on those runes. Let's move on to the lifesteal and spell vamp runes. Now, the lifesteal and spell vamp quints provide a similar benefit to other quints that affect your HP in some way. The best benefit in my opinion about these quints is that they scale positively with level. Other quints tend to fall off late game or become completely useless. The more damage and AP you buy, the better these quints become. They also naturally gain strength per level when speaking about the lifesteal ones, and some masteries and runes also affect the spellvamp ones every level. These quints are relatively specific on what champs that can effectively use them, and just like most runes, there is a hidden downside. These quints are not as good early game, but not only because they don't return much in the way of HP. They are generally not as good because they require you to be attacking or casting spells a lot, which in the first case will push your lane more than you want in most cases, and in the second case you're going to end up using mana that you don't have just to gain HP back. However, these are minor gripes and I feel these runes are very strong in theory. I personally haven't used them. I won't be going over the generic quints here such as flat AD, flat AP for their math. Many of these quints you're able to easily calculate how valuable they are by doing simple math on the stats they provide compared to other starting items. I.e. you can compare armor quints against the cloth armor and see about how much money you're getting. So let's try and go over some of the quints you should be using for general champions. So let's go over the recap of all the runes sold in the store. 1 second, let me just check something, see how much time I got. I got about 5 minutes left. Okay, so abilities. I find that the magic pen runes are underused in this category for one reason or the other. Mostly I find that the AP runes stack better with most champs who would use them because they are inevitably going to get death cap, which stacks the AP a little better than the magic pen runes. I find that the flat AP runes in this category are far superior to the scaling ones because it takes so long for them to catch up in this case. Defense. For this category, I find that the flat MR runes are probably the best bet overall for most champs. Considering the armor bonus is lower, all champs scale up armor with level, and only some scale up in magic resistance. Flat armor is passable for jungling, but I find HP per 5 to be better for many reasons. Time traveling from camp to camp, waiting in bushes for ganks, armor scales up with level, and you're generally going to buy armor anyway. So, let's talk about the health runes. I've already talked at length about HP versus HP 5, so you can make your own decision there. I find that the 4.5% health increase is not a viable option. Using Jarvan as an example again, his max HP at level 18 without any items is 2040, and the 4.5% increased health adds up to 91.8 health at that point. It scales a little bit better with more HP items as well, obviously. However, the scaling HP per level runes seem to provide a larger bonus at that point anyway, 145.8. You would need a lot of HP to make that 4.5 increase better. Or that 4.5% increase. Mana. Let's go to mana quints. I find that for these quints, they're almost always better options for casters to get than mana quints. However, if you do decide to go that route, I will suggest which ones are the most beneficial. I never found the energy regen quints to be that effective personally, because they don't seem to make that big of a difference. The rate at which energy regens naturally makes the energy regen runes seem pitiful by comparison. If you're going to pick mana regen, pick the per level ones surely. They nearly match the flat regen ones at level 5, and surpass them at level 6. Totally worth it. I don't find the max mana to be that great, although it can be very niche-tastic on Rise. Gives them a decent chunk of damage early game. Credit to First Choice for reminding me about that. And let's go over the attack. I find the critical chance and critical damage are very niche as well. Only specific champions can benefit from them, and if you use those champions, it depends on how you build them as to how effective they will be. Attack speed quints are sometimes used for jungling, but I still find HP 5 to be better in general. As for the flat versus scaling AD quints, it depends on your playstyle and what champions you tend to use. Some AD carries hit their peak at level 9, some are stronger earlier. Base your decision on those factors, I would say. Keep in mind that last hitting is easier early game with flat AD runes, and the damage output is quite nice if they have a decent skill that scales decently off of AD. More damage late game is always welcome as long as you don't lose the early game too hard and make the extra damage from the scaling quints not enough to compensate for what you lost early game. Armor pen is again good on certain champs, however it scales negatively with levels. As I stated, all champs gain armor with level, and reducing armor by 10 does less and less damage the more armor they gain. And the utility quints have all been covered at length previously. So, just a few more things to go over really quick. Good early game quints I find are HP 5 regen, magic resistance, flat AD or armor pen, or AP. And really good late game quints I find are move speed, lifesteal and spell vamp, and some of the scaling runes. One thing I want to point out is to look at the stats that are hidden with each type of quint. You know, for armor pen, it seems good. It's a flat, I believe it's 10. You get 10 armor pen. Okay, it's good in the beginning when they have 30 or 40 armor, or even less. Taking 10 armor away from 30 is a 33% reduction in how much armor they have. Taking 10 away from 100 is only a 10% reduction, and you're gaining so much less. And since every champion scales up in armor, it's not as good. Similarly, attack speed is actually a little bit better than I thought when I wrote this guide, because it scales positively with level. The more damage you gain, which you gain every level, attack speed runes are bound to become better because you're going to be dealing more damage. And flat AD won't scale, but flat attack speed will scale because that attack speed will be applying to each further attack. So, hopefully you guys learned something from this Quintessence guide. Sorry there's nothing on the screen besides gameplay, but I figured it would give you guys something to look at while I was talking about these runes. So please leave a comment, give me a thumbs up. And let me know that you enjoyed this, because it took some time to write this guide. I've been working on it for a while, so if you have any questions, comments, let me know. Thumbs it up, point it out to Riot, and do whatever you guys can to support me. I appreciate it. You guys have been doing it forever, and I love you guys. See you guys next time. Thanks for watching.